Western North Dakota has long been defined by vast landscapes, breathtaking vistas, and now, oil. One cannot travel more than a couple miles without seeing the signs of an industry that grew virtually overnight. Farm fields dotted with oil rigs, sleepy towns transformed into makeshift metropolises, and the constant din of machinery, trucks, and flares. The smell of diesel and sulfur permeate the air. Some of the most pristine land in the Midwest is now adorned with oil rigs, pumps, and earth movers. North Dakota has become the #2 oil-producing state in the nation behind Texas. North Dakota is also the fastest-growing state in the nation. And among the chaos, it seems farmers, ranchers, and small-town locals are pushed to the wayside to make way for the influx of people here to stake their claim in the oil boom.
Finally dawned on us, this isn't working anymore.
Our original plan was that we'd live at the cabin until we die, and
or at least had to go into assisted living.
Yeah.
It was just grinding, and we were just getting so angry and sad about what was going on with the land.
And our friends.
And for our friends as well, yes, absolutely. And we thought, do we want to be this angry and sad for the last days of our life? We thought, we got to get out of here.
Bought the lot in '68, and then started putting the cabin up in '69.
Our kids were quite little when we first moved out there. Our youngest daughter was only 2 years old.
Life at the cabin is not now what it used to be. And that somehow, for me, makes it easier to leave. All of the fond memories that we have are back there someplace or other. And that even if we were to stay there, it would not be the same. We have lost something that's just not going to be there anymore. We weren't meant to live in that kind of chaos and unpredictability.
I think more than anything, we miss the cabin and all that meant to us. And to feel that it's never going to be that way again.
If you look, you can see 2 there, and you can see 2 over there. There's 1, 2, 3, I don't know how many of them, probably all flares clean across the river there. And you can really see it when we get back towards home off in the reservation there. They've just, the last 2 years has just been unbelievable how many they've drilled over there, and the flares, you can just see dozens of them over there. We're being sacrificial lambs for the rest of the country. You know, they should have came and seen this because it was a beautiful place. It was a good place to live, a very productive land, you know. Good people. You didn't lock your doors. Everything. It was the way America was supposed to be, and now come look at it. And it's all for oil. It's never going to be the same. I think they destroyed some of the most beautiful place there is. You know, you take people down through these breaks in the Badlands. Nobody believes it's North Dakota because they all think it's flat. But, you know, and like I said, these people have been here for generations. Are selling out and leaving.
They just got this horse over here. This is a new one. Oh, 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 you're okay. Yeah, you're eating some. You're being the lawnmower too? Yeah. We found that there is really no plan that includes people and the people living here and our way of life. But if we leave, that doesn't help solve the problem. And we're 3rd generation, and Laura's 4th, and then Lane and the other kids there are 5 generations. So there's a whole lot of historical significance for our family, but there's also a lot of historical and cultural significance from the people that were here before us.
All of a sudden, why don't we care about the farmers? I mean, it's rather important to be able to feed people. This is North Dakota. All of a sudden, it's only oil that counts.
Every time an oil boom hit, we took back seat out here. I'm sorry, but we just did. People, they just forgot about the egg, and when times got tough, they had to remember them again because they were here and kept things going. And they'll always be here as long as they don't completely ruin it. I mean, that's why I'm so worried about water, but, you know, there's always going to be people raising food, so your phone never stops ringing. You're always having to meet with somebody about something, an easement or a road or a problem of some sort, or a problem that's been indirectly caused by the oil and gas industry.
A lot of them don't have the mineral rights, so they have to allow the oil on, and they don't get a choice. And what was their sacred place, their refuge, their, you know, maybe they build a new cabin in a house and they wanted to do tourism and hunting and things like that. Boom, oil well. And they can't do it. It's really frustrating to watch some of my friends with their hands tied.
Housing prices have skyrocketed. Apartments, renting for several $100s, now cost thousands. That means those on a fixed income, not working in the oil field, are having trouble finding affordable housing. In addition to housing, crime has become an issue across the Bakken. Theft, vandalism, drug rings, prostitution, assaults, and homicide. Things this area has never seen are now becoming commonplace. The traffic on the roads has also made things more difficult. With hydraulic fracturing, each well requires between 500 and 1,500 truck trips. Multiply that by the hundreds of active rigs in addition to construction crews, equipment haulers, and normal transport and agricultural traffic, making previously desolate roads into congested and dangerous byways.
Everything has changed. The social part of it, I mean, my wife works for the Watford City Police Department, and they're like busting a prostitution ring every other week. You know, never ever seen one in the town before, you know.
Yeah.
Guy got beat to death out back of the bar 2 or 3 weeks ago. You know, it just completely changed what it was like here.
But it's not as safe. People are saying they're not feeling safe. You know, so many women do not feel safe, and probably for good reason. It makes me sad because this is a pretty safe place. It's really safe.
And that's the way these guys, a lot of them coming in, view it as it's like the Wild West. They act like they can do anything, you know. Watford, I think, is the worst one. People talk about Williston, but Watford's even worse, I think.
Yeah.
Because Watford went from, say, 7 years ago, from about 1,500 to now they're saying they don't really even know, but you know, in city limits, I think is over 7,000 or 8,000 now. And you know, most of that's in about the last 3-4 years.
Kildare is impacted because we have lost our young families. For the most part, they can't afford to live there. If they hadn't owned their home before the oil impact happened, they can't afford the rent there anymore. Young families are the people who work in service areas, work in the grocery store, work at the bank, fill in a lot of positions in town, and the workforce that has come has not brought their wives and family with. So we are definitely struggling as far as a workforce in all of our community services.
I mean, rent, a place they're renting for $3,000 a month now, they couldn't even rent out before, let alone for $300, you know, or something. You know, housing is just ridiculous. Food prices are ridiculous. Everything's sky high, and then you can't get anything. But all the local businesses have basically sold out to either a chain or people came in and offered them. You know, I don't blame them for selling. I guess they'll never have another chance to make that. And
Yeah.
like I said, these people have been here for generations, are selling out and leaving.
People are either working in the oil field or they're leaving. And it's a different North Dakota.
they say, well, look, you've got a new house, you've got a new truck, and such like that. But what they don't realize until sometimes it's too late, well, we sacrificed our land, we sacrificed our water quality, we sacrificed our way of life.
They've never really had to pay their costs, is what I'd say. There's a big cost to the oil and gas production that oil companies have never had to pay, and that's the cleanups and the down-the-road things that are happening.
And these big corporate folks, those in the position of power, have the ability to direct their company. Those board of directors have the right to, or have that ability. They need to put ethics in front.
So a lot of people around here, when they first came out with their oil leases, they were peanuts. And the companies knew that this was the time, and the state knew this was the time, and the decision makers that could have helped influence or educate us knew this was the time, and nobody did.
If the state isn't prepared to deal with an industry, the industry shouldn't be proceeding at the rate they are. It should be at a manageable rate, and it's not meshed up. You have an industry that's just going, just crazy, and a state that's still lagging behind, still trying to catch up with regulatory and enforcement. Then that should tell the state government, we got to slow down. We can't keep issuing all these permits. We should back off. They're just so afraid to lose the revenue, which is silly because we had plenty of revenue. We were fine beforehand, before this big boom, and it just would allow for us to recover more quickly. And even people in the industry say that.
They always used to say, we'd try and get better taxes or something on them, and I'd say, oh, well, just can't do that or they'll leave the state. Good, bye, see ya. You'll be back. It's here, they're going to be back, and it'll be worth more.
I cannot believe that a state government would allow such a boom without first allowing that infrastructure and having all the safety protocol in place first.
Every well drilled requires up to 2 million gallons of water. Much of that water is then transformed into non-potable and even radioactive wastewater. There is also the issue of water that is being deep injected into the earth. This water is removed from the water cycle permanently. 30% of natural gas extracted in North Dakota is flared, over $100 million per month. The Bakken spans 18,000 square miles and is the largest oil field in North America. Extraction is breaking records every month and is now up to nearly 1 million barrels every day. With this much production happening at such a rapid rate, safety is a major concern.
I see the red squares covered by black. I shouldn't let it bother me like that. Words from the past don't sting like they used to. Oh, I think we're meant to last.
I still am concerned. I see the costs that are coming, that we are already experiencing in terms, you see a yellowish haze on the horizon, and that was never there before. And if you can see it, you're breathing it.
Last winter, everybody was always sick, especially the young kids. Everybody talked about, God, my kid's sick every other week. And I think part of it is just the flaring and the dust and the air pollutant. You drive in from east of Newtown and you get east of Newtown, it seems like it's lower there. It just hangs in there. You come down through the Little Missouri, which used to be pristine, and you get to the Lost Bridge or somewhere down there and it smells like diesel. That's not North Dakota. We've never had that. My biggest concern really out of all this is water when it comes down to it. I think that's the one factor that I may not even have to deal with in my lifetime, but somebody's going to sooner or later. The amount of water that's being taken from the hydrological cycle forever is amazing. And then the salt water itself is a contaminant that we've had problems with here. Well, what they do is they use fresh water, you could drink it, and then they use it in the fracking. When it comes back, it's contaminated. They also have produced water just because of you know, the production, there's water down there, and it's very salty usually. Sometimes it's radioactive. And all that salt water comes back, and the only thing they can do with it is deep inject it. You know, they go through every single freshwater aquifer we got. And even if it, you know, sometime it's a man and a machine, one of them's going to fail. And it has happened, and that's going to contaminate somebody's drinking water.
If we don't take care of the animals, you know, we're next on the list. And I don't know if people see it that way, but that's the way it is. If we don't take care of our Earth can't take care of us. So we still have a relationship with the Earth that needs to be upheld and protected.
Some people, I'm really happy that they have a well in their land and they're seeing some relief, because they've been working that ranch and they get to keep their homesteaded ranch. I think that's great. But I guarantee you those same people are not wanting their water contaminated and the health and the well-being of the land around them to be degraded.
They don't know what it's like when it's drilling right by your house, when it's drilling a half a mile away. You can feel that in your soul. It's like you're at a concert and the bass is too loud. That's what it's like for 2 full months of drilling. Then after that is the fracking, and then the chemicals. And then and from the flare, we had gas in our house many times, filled our whole house. And who do you call? And where do you go? You know, if there's alarms going off at the location where they're drilling, don't you think they should tell us what that alarm is about?
Well, the development started here after 2007. And I initially saw a lot of traffic like that's happening today. Very shortly after it started, I started to see a lot of fluid spilled on the roads, on the highways. I didn't know if it was frack water or salt water or produced water or radioactive water. I wasn't sure. I was worried because I knew that was not the standard practice that's expected from the industry. I started taking photos. I decided to document it because you can talk about it verbally, but I think it helps to have the evidence. Since then, I've also seen 2 fires out this way that have come from the open flaring that's occurring all around me.
Why are we favoring one industry? We have tourism, we have hunting, we have, for a history of North Dakota, we've had many other, ranching, farming. You know, this radioactive waste, the salt that you're throwing, the salt water that you're maybe spreading out on a field or wherever it's being illegally dumped, these things are going to impact the long history of North Dakota, the people that have been working this land hard for many, many years.
It's just like our own government has turned on us, and the things that you'd think they would be taking care of, like water, air, the pollution, all of the issues that are just have been neglected. The environmental things, and the governor has finally gone out to look at a few places, but just like he just discovered, oh, there's the Badlands here, oh, there's Killdeer Mountains. That stuff should have been put off limits right at the beginning, but it wasn't.
The EPA is doing what they can, but when I talked to them, they were very limited staffed, and they didn't have enough people to check every single spill. And they depend on the state to do that. Well, our state doesn't have the people to do it.
I'd tell them I'm the only true environmentalist here because I make my living off the land. If I screw that land up, I'm done. And you guys, you're making a living off of me.
If I own land, I want to be able to make it better when I hand it over to the next generation than when I received it. And I can't do that if I don't keep track of it and make these oil companies do things right. You know, it's just basically you need to police them because nobody does.
You know, when you have major spills like the Gulf Coast and such, inexcusable because they had some of the safety protocol that could be in place there. They chose a shortcut. We need to hold them to higher standards.
I've lived in the oil field all my life. I worked in it for 20 years, and things happen. You know, there's always a compromise somewhere. There's human error, there's things that wear out. Something always happens, so you need to be prepared for these things that do happen so you don't have some big cleanup.
An oil pipeline owned by Tesoro has spewed more than 20,000 barrels of crude oil.
Spilled through a leaky pipeline in a wheat field outside of Tioga.
The Tesoro pipeline leak that spilled nearly 21,000 barrels of oil near Tioga.
A major oil spill in western North Dakota. On September 29th, Tesoro reported that a pipeline in the state was leaking oil, saying it was leaking about 750 barrels. But this week, the state health department learned this problem is much bigger than that.
Over the horizon, we just seen this large massive cloud of smoke that was just billowing fiercely out of the landscape. They said that there was a pipeline leak, and you know, it was a pretty big deal, and they had started it on fire, and that was the huge cloud of smoke that a lot of people had seen it. And then October 9th, you find out that it was a 20,000 barrel pipeline leak, and the largest in North Dakota and the largest in the U.S., or one of the largest in the U.S. And that's when you find out from the media, and me being a local of that area, being 15 miles away, you know, you'd think that they would have told the people in the area what happened, the magnitude of the spill.
The public was not informed of the incident until 11 days after it had occurred. The North Dakota Department of Health says the state saw no need to publicize the spill immediately because the site was remote. Initially, Tesoro said 750 barrels had spilled, but a week later, it revised its count to 20,600. Tesoro based its estimate on soil samples over the 7-acre site, where oil saturated soil 3 feet down.
You know, we are living off of our children's future today, and how we live today will reflect on their future, and I think we have a responsibility.
That I couldn't pass it on to my grandchildren because it wouldn't be worth it. You know, like I said, if we lose the water, we're done, you know. I guess that's worst case scenario.
So I don't see a positive future for North Dakota if we don't step in and start mitigating, if we don't start slowing down, if we don't start protecting these spaces.
Don't waste this opportunity because it's I guess this is a one-time harvest. Once it's gone, it's gone. Hopefully we'll be smart enough to leave it in as good or better shape like our parents did for us.
This is like immediate money for the state and for the local governments, including my tribal government. But there's a long-term impact to this process, and I don't think that's ever been factored into this. There's the long-term cost, the degradation of air quality is not an issue. And that's a cost. You call it an impact, it's a cost. It's a cost somebody will be absorbing it, and it will not be the industry. It will be the children and our grandchildren.
If there aren't some measures done and done quickly, if they don't start paying attention to what's going on, the Bakken won't be a livable place. And it's really sad, because if oil means more than water to everybody, then so be it. But I truly believe that if they keep on going in the Bakken like they are now, if you can somehow drink oil, more power to you, because there won't be any water drinkable in the area unless they haul it from someplace else.
There is a time and a space for North Dakota, and there should be some North Dakota left when oil development is done. We're not opposed to oil development. We just are conservative in how it should be extracted and what they take with them in the process.
I see it more as being a citizen and concerned about the future of I've got a granddaughter now. I want her to be able to love this place. I want her to feel safe up here. I want her to learn to ride up here.
But I think we should be looking forward instead of back. I think that's the voice that we try to put out there, is that you know, use some of this to look for a better alternative, look for another way. Because we just can't keep on going down this road, I don't think. It's not sustainable.
The companies doing business in the Bakken are some of the biggest in the United States, with net worths in the billions. Organizations like the Dakota Resource Council give individuals a voice. Members of Dakota Resource Council use grassroots actions to influence public opinion and shape public policy to protect agriculture, natural resources, livelihoods, and community well-being. No one person can bear the burden of all the issues that are arising in western North Dakota. But if we work together, we can help ensure that oil production is happening in the right way and not at a cost to those who have helped make North Dakota what it is today.
And that's what DRC does, is organize. They're the only organization that is a voice for you know, property owners or mineral owners really in the state. Nobody knows everything, so every time you meet and everybody's ideas come out, you learn something and you learn a better way to do things. It has to be a group of people to get something done. Otherwise, one or two don't get listened to.
The truth is not out there. And so it's up to, you know, Dakota Resource Council is an avenue, I think, for folks, for the average person to really get their concerns out there about the impacts.
These companies come to you, they want you to do a one-on-one, and it's divide and conquer. And it's to their benefit that they do that. They don't want you to talk to your neighbors, they don't want you to compare prices, they don't want you to compare any kind of solutions. And so that's one of the things that DRC has really been emphatic about, is you need to talk to each other. You need to keep in contact with each other.
There's a lot of potential here for people to have a voice in this process, to really stand up and protect their communities. So it can happen, but it takes some courage to do it for some folks, and a commitment, I think. I think a lot of folks in western North Dakota, they've got a connection to the earth, and they value it. Maybe they don't say it that way, you know, that's not the words they use, but they've got a connection to it, and that's important to them. And so you got to fight for it. I don't care what the odds are against you. You know, if you believe in something, you go for it all the way. You fight for it.
It's the time of the season where my heart starts to fall, and I worked it all out so my schedule's all so